منہ چھپانے کو، نہ کر قبول مدینے ہمارے آنے کو۔ مدینہ لٹ گئی سرکار تیرے والی کی، میرے حسین کے سوکھے گلے پہ تیغ چلی، بچانا عبد بیمار کے سوا کوئی، ہماری گودیاں پردیس میں ہوئی خالی، قدم اٹھائے نہیں جاتے گھر میں آنے کو، نہ کر قبول مدینے ہمارے آنے کو۔ بچھڑ کے اپنی بہن سے دوبارہ مل نہ سکی، وہ دل میں لے گئی حسرت مدینے آنے کی، مصیبتوں کے اندھیروں میں چل بسی بچی، ہمیں رہائی ملی وہ ہے آج بھی قیدی، بسا لیا ہے سکینہ نے قید خانے کو، نہ کر قبول مدینے ہمارے آنے کو۔ گلی گلی میں پھر آیا گیا غریبوں کو، قدم قدم پہ رلایا گیا غریبوں کو، بچھا کے کانٹے چلایا گیا غریبوں کو، تماش بینوں میں لایا گیا غریبوں کو، ثواب سمجھا گیا ہے، ثواب سمجھا گیا ہے، ہمیں ستانے کو، نہ کر قبول مدینے ہمارے آنے کو، لٹا کے آئے گئے زغرا کے ہم گھر آنے کو، نہ کر قبول مدینے ہمارے آنے کو۔ بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
Muhammad wali Muhammad salawat. Inshallah, starting this Thursday, August 8th, we will have, or not August 8th, August 6th, inshallah, we will have Moalana Jalal Mognia coming. He will be reciting from the 6th to the 8th. So that is Thursday to Saturday. He will be doing it at starting around 7:15, similar to this time, before Salat. After Salat, for those interested in the Urdu program, we will have Maulana Salman Tarabi coming from the 5th to the 9th. So that is from Wednesday to Sunday. That will be after Salat prayers, after Maghrib prayers. As you guys know, Ghadir wants to put on great programming, and that's only possible due to donations. As you guys may know, we are roughly 50K short of our intended goal that we set out at the beginning of Muharram. We have only a couple weeks left, and we are hoping to reach that goal. There's a kiosk set in the back, which allows for QR and Zelle. You can obviously do check and cash, and if you would wish to use PayPal or set up a recurring, you can use the Ghadir website. This is the last day for Sheikh Abbas Mirza. We would like to thank you on behalf of Al Ghadir Education Foundation. We have learned so much and we are always honored to have you. And inshallah, we look forward to hearing from you many, many, many more times. So thank you so much. Please join me in welcoming Sheikh Abbas Mirza to the member with a loud salawat, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And please, alhamdulillah, we have been filling up, so please do move forward as much as you can so that when brothers come in the back, they have a place to sit.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وأجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاسبي حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. The time is too short. We have to conclude the discussion which we started, and I will just quickly jump into the topic that we are discussing, which is actually the couplets from the Ziyarat Arbaeen of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It's a very special ziyarat, authentic ziyarat that comes from Safar Jamal, who was the companion of sixth Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Sheikh Tusi mentions this ziyarat in his book. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, if Sheikh Tusi is mentioning this from Safwan Jamal, there's about 200-year gap between Tusi and Safwan, who's the companion of sixth Imam. There is a chain of narration for this ziyarat, and the people who are there in the chain are authentic. And particularly when Tusi mentions it, points out to the authenticity of the ziyarat itself, because Sheikh Tusi was a very powerful scholar, known as a Sheikh al-Taif. Two of his books from the Kutub Arba, the four Shia books we have, is from Sheikh Tusi. So he's very powerful. He has brought this ziyarat as well in his book. Now, we mentioned that the first part of the ziyarat is theocentric. We divide it into two folds or two parts. It could be divided into more, depending on what approach and what is your analysis of the ziyarat. I took it the simple way because we only had 3 lectures, so I decided to do in 2 parts. So for the first part of the ziyarat can be reflected the theocentric nature. Theocentric nature meaning in the sense that God being the center, the theo. right? Obviously. And while doing so, we discuss Waliullah, Khalilullah, Habibullah, Safiullah, all of these attributes which are actually of Allah. Allah is Wali, Allah is Safi, Allah is Khalil. These are all names of Allah, which is been pronounced here for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We are addressing Imam Hussein alayhi salam with these names, and why we are addressing with these names to the Imam, we spoke that yesterday. So we could say that the first part is theocentric, and the second part, there's a part which is in between, which we ended up yesterday speaking about, which is actually the purpose or the reason of his sacrifice was to revive the intellect of humanity, so that he can take humanity out of jahala. As we look at Surah Hamd, Surah Hamd is theocentric, which is Alhamdulillah Bil Alameen, all that is about Allah. Then there is in between, Iyaka na'bud, Iyaka nasta'in. There's me and Allah there, And then there is actually, which we could call anthropocentric, which is about human, which is anthropocentric. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Please recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ya Allah. Ahsant. Ya Allah. Baijaz ya Bawash. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsant. Assalamu alaikum. So in the ziyarah as well, there's that part which is actually pointing out to the purpose of the uprising of Imam Hussein and the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, is that he gave his blood in order that people come out of their ignorance. So this is something till eternity. Not only for that period, as we all know, that the people and the Muslims have reached to the bottom. They have reached to the rituals of Jahala, even worse. At the time of Jahiliyyah, they will not fight in Muharram. But here, in Muharram, they have killed the grandson of the Prophet. So look at the height of Jahala, for example, right? So, and there were other issues as well, which we don't have time to discuss, because I want to look at the anthropocentric part of the ziyarat. So the second part is more of an anthropocentric reality, which means that it deals with what is expected of me from this ziyarat. What is expectation of mine from this ziyarat? Oh, I have recognized Hussein as this, Waliullah, Khalilullah, Safiullah, and Mazlum and Shaheed, Asirul Qurabat, Qatilul Abarat, all of that. And he gave his life so that he brings people out of Jahala, and there is certain expectation from my side, just certain things focused towards my reality, or a reality of a human being. So that becomes the anthropocentric reality of the ziyarat. What is it they're asking me? Or in other words, we could say, we go to Karbala, as in fafirru ilallah. We do farar, we run towards Allah. As in Munajat Shabaniya, we recite, that وَبَقَفْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ. I ran, and then I came, and I'm standing in between your hands. I ran, I left everything. وَاسْمَا دُعَيْ إِذَا دَعَوْتُكَ وَاسْمَعْ نِدَاءِ إِذَا نَادَيْتُكَ فَقَدْ حَرَبْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَوَقَفْتُ بَيْنَ. I did harb, I ran. فَقَدْ حَرَبْتُ إِلَيْكَ, towards you, by leaving all of this dunya. I'm sick and tired of this dunya. I have nothing now. No hope, nothing. I have ran from this, and I'm in front of you. وَقَفْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ. So fafarru, as the Quran also says, go towards Allah, run towards Allah. And as we see, millions and millions, they run towards Karbala. Going towards Karbala is actually running towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it's the call of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Labbaik ya Hussein is labbaik is of Allah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, that's what it is. Right? That's why when we say labbaik ya Hussein, is actually saying labbaik to what Imam Hussein is calling for. Imam Hussein is calling for taking us out of Jahala. Imam Hussein is calling for the wilayat of Ahl Bayt. Imam Hussein is calling for, the revival of the deen of Muhammad, for Quran, for Tawheed, right? That's the call. And we are saying Labbaik Ya Hussein for that. So we run towards, especially when it comes to Arbaeen, we run towards the Ziyarat Arbaeen. So we run towards Karbala. We go to Karbala. There are two realities to it. One is that we go to Karbala, but we have to go through Karbala. We only do the first part. That is, we go to Karbala, but we don't go through Karbala. Going through Karbala is bringing a change in us. So we have to see that, okay, I have, at the end of the season of Majlis, so to speak, and, how much I cried. Yes, how much I did Matam, how much I loved Imam Hussein. This is not that we should be calculating, but rather how much I change. What things I left behind. There were certain habits that I was into. But after these majalis, after this tawassulat, after this expression of my love and my tears to Imam Hussein, I no longer lie. I no longer cheat. I no longer do this act or that act, which hurts. I started taking care of my parents. I respect people who are older. This is that we should be calculating, not how much I cry, not how much I did matam. Yes, that's good. But this matam and these tears are medium and vehicle to bring that change in me. That's what Imam Hussein wants. Yes, you have 27 million coming to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They go to Karbala, but they have to go through Karbala as well, which means they have to bring that change. I always say this, that's self-sacrificing. One of the most important, essential, existential reality of the journey of Karbala is adapting or having the self-sacrificing nature. Our nafs, our soul should become a medium or should reach to the maqam and station of self-sacrificing. That's what we see in Arbaeen. They have nothing, no food. They don't eat meat all over the year, but they save money to serve Imam Hussein Zawar. That's self-sacrificing. That's what it is. That's self-sacrificing. So imagine if the walk of Arbaeen 3 days or 4 days becomes 365 days. That's what Hussein wants. That 3 days should turn to 365 days. And it will, and it is possible. Right? If this sifat of self-sacrificing, this nature of self-sacrificing, which was seen in the ashab of Imam Hussein 1,400 years ago, and we could reflect that in Arbaeen after 1,400 years, why not? It is possible that all 365 days become the days of Imam Hussein. That's why you have that famous saying that Kullu Ardin Karbala and Kullu Yawmin Ashura, right? It's known as a saying, as a hadith, famous saying, we can say, right? So the question is, what does the Ziyarat Arbaeen is demanding from us after understanding the nature of Allah, the nature of Hussein? What does it really want from us? So tonight we're going to reflect a bit upon that. Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, as we mentioned that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that middle part is that he wants us to, he sacrificed his life so that he can bring us out from that jahala. That is his purpose. Now, we will look at what is jahala. As we were speaking about, I will refer back to the text of Toshihiko Isudzu, because some people are new here. I see new faces. So I want the youth to engage with that text. It's a very important text in order to understand the Quran. He talks about, he has an approach, a methodology of understanding the Quran. What do we mean by understanding the Quran? Actually trying to understand the worldview of the Quran. What is the worldview of the Quran? Through what? Through comparing the concepts in the Quran, the concept of hilm, the concept of jahl, the concept of kufr, the concept of shukr. These are all concepts in the Quran. These are concepts. We cannot understand it from the point of view of its translation. Kufr is translated as disbelief. However, it's not just disbelief. Or jahl is translated as ignorant, not having knowledge, but it is not that. Where Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam in the Quran itself says that if I fall for my desire, I will be from the jahilin. Although he's a prophet and he's knowledgeable, but he's regarding that if I fall for my desire, then I will be from the jahilin. So having knowledge, but somebody who falls and behaves in the jahil way, in an ignorant way, that person is a jahil person. Okay, so the question is not just the translation. So that's the text I would like you guys to engage with. So here you have the question where in the ziyarah that those whom the world deceived united against Imam Hussein alayhi salam. These are the couplets from the Ziyarat Arbaeen. The people who fought Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they were people not atheist. They were doing, for example, how shall I say, not disbelievers. They did not stand against Allah, right? But and even they did not the what do you call, the ziyarat is not saying they did not stand against the grandson of the Prophet. No, but actually it's pointing out to the reason why they stood against Imam Hussein, and that is those whom the world deceived united against him. They were a group of people, they all gathered together with the common mentality, and that common mentality was being deceived by the dunya as such. The dunya, the world, trapped them. The desire trapped them. They were deceived by the dunya. As they were deceived by the dunya, they were following their hawa and their nafs. There's a very beautiful dua. See, there are lots of duas, and we have to engage in these duas at least once in a lifetime. Hassan Zadeh Amali, marhum, salam, rahmatullah alayhi, his approach when they asked him, they say, Ayatollah, there's so many duas. There's Mafati, there's Misbah, there's Aqbalul Amal, there's, you name it. MashaAllah, Shias, they have a very beautiful tradition of dua. We should feel proud of it. Saif Sajjadiyah, Saif Alawi, Saif Mahdavi, Saif Fatimi. I mean, it's fascinating what we got. It's a treasure of spirituality. Just open it up and reflect and recite the translation and try to understand. Even if you don't understand it, just recite it. The words and the sound will move the soul. There's a very powerful effect upon the sound, which we kind of overlook. Why do we recite our salat in Arabic? Although I'm not an Arab, although I'm a Chinese, I'm not really Chinese, but I'm saying that, okay, yeah. Although I'm not an Arab, but I have to recite in Arabic. Somebody in China, they have to recite in China. They have to recite in Arabic. Because there's something very profound about the sound. In Zen Buddhism, sound plays a major role for the moving of the soul. Within the Hindu mantras, when they recite, they have to recite that in their Sanskrit language, because the sound plays a role, whether you understand it or not understand it. Because the first thing that came out of existence after light is sound. The bang, before bang, it was no bang. And bang happens after the light. So when a thunder strikes, you will see the light first and the bang happens after that. So the first thing is the light. So awwalu ma khalaqallah nuri. The first thing God created is the Muhammadan light. And after that is the sound. And perhaps that sound is seen in the Quran in the end. Because that's why there's no difference between Ahl Bayt and Quran. They are one thing. The light and the sound is one. It's one reality. The sound may be the Quran, perhaps, and the light being the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So du'as, Agha Hassan Zadeh says that at least once in your lifetime, you should recite all of the du'as that have been sent from and been recorded from the Masumin alayhim salam. Going to the bathroom, there's a dua. While urinating, passing, du'as. So that man, because man is insan. Some say insan comes from nisyan. Nisyan means forgetfulness, being forgetful, negligence. Insan, nisyan. We tend to forget. So these du'as always remind us of Allah all the time. Even in the restrooms, we are reminded with a particular dua. Entering the kitchen, entering the bedroom, leaving the house, so on and so forth. These are like little duas. However, other duas, Monday dua, Tuesday dua, morning hour dua. Somebody comes and says that if you have to become a Shia, then you don't need to do anything. You will be just busy doing dua. You don't have to go to work. You can't do anything because there are so many duas to perform, right? But it's actually at least once in a lifetime, we should open up an Aqbalul Amal, or for example, we should open up, Misbahul Munir, or, Misbahul Mutahaj, the different books of dua, read once, right? There's a dua which is after the ziyarat of Imam Jawad alayhi salam. It's a very beautiful dua. I'm going to read a couple of lines from there, which says that, "Oh Allahumma arini haqqa haqqan." Oh Allah, show me the haqq as haqq, so that I follow the haqq. So we even have to ask Allah that, "Oh Allah," because without Allah, we will be doomed. Prophet, he says, "Oh Allah, do not leave me on my own even for the blinking of an eye." The Prophet is saying that. Even that blinking of my eye, don't leave me by myself. I don't know what will happen. Right? Who are we? So even for the haqq, to see the haqq, to follow the haqq, to be on the path of haqq, we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly, all the time. We should be in that state of dua. Because, our existential reality is nothing but dua. Dua means asking, seeking. As soon as we are born, I mentioned this, I don't have time, just mentioning in the margin. As soon as we are born, we do dua. If you don't do dua, the doctor will slap us, will pronounce us dead. We cry. This crying is nothing but dua. Right? So we come by saying dua, and we die by saying najwa. We're whispering. In between is nothing but nutba. We make louder sounds. Right? This is our life. We are faqir. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara ila Allah. Faqir means that we are always in need. When we are always in need, we should be always consciously as well. Unconsciously, we are always in need because we are faqir. In Allah Ghaniul Hamid. We have this breath that goes out doesn't know it's going to come back in. We have no idea. Right? We don't have that power even. Right? So we are we are faqir existentially in our wujud. Just like I always say, 3 is an odd number. It cannot be other than odd. 3 has to be odd number. That's how our faqr is. So when we have that faqr, that need, that means we should be always in the state of dua. Right? We should always be asking. So when a child is born, it cries, is ask. That's life. That's very symbolic as well. So this dua, we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And dua, which is after the dua of the ziyarat of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, it says, Allahumma arina haqqa haqqa. Oh Allah, show me the haqq so that I follow. Show me the batil, the evil, the void as falsehood, as false, so that I do ijtinab, so that I don't follow that. Oh Allah, don't mix haqq and batil. Which, mashallah, now with AI, with, so many things. Haqq and batil is mixed. The Quran on the spears in the camp of Muawiyah, that's mixing of haqq and batil. To cheat. Right? The Quran on the spears. I don't want to go the whole story. I'm just leaving it there. And they say, oh, if we attack, the Quran gonna fall. Ali says, what do you mean attack? Quran is here. Ali is the Quran. Haqq is here. But you have been fooled by this mixing of haqq and batil. That's how the methodology of, camp of Muawiyah was, right? So here, oh Allah, don't, in the dua it says, oh Allah, don't mix haqq and batil together. If the haqq and batil is mixed, I will follow my hawa. I will follow my nafs. I will follow which I want, and I will say that this is haqq. Right? I will follow because I want the hukumat-e-rai, Umar Asad. But I will say that somehow I'll make that killing of Imam Hussain as haqq. First he denied, no, how can I? But later on he is there, ready to kill. Right? Because the haqq and batil was mixed in front of his eyes. Or because he followed his hawa, his nafs came in front of the haqq. And somehow, so that's what Imam Hussain is saying, that these people who gathered to kill Imam Hussain salam, those whom the world deceived, united against Imam Hussain. So the dunya, as Amir will say, Rasukul Laqati, is the head of all faults and mistakes that a person commits, is the dunya, is the world. Sudzu also discusses this when he's talking about the concept of jahalat, that at the time of the Jahiliyyah, they have completely forgotten the akhirah. The question of akhirah was gone. They denied akhirah. They only believed in the dunya. Somebody who is rich is considered to be the head of the tribe. Not somebody who have good akhlaq like Abu Zar or Bilal, for example. Because Bilal and Abu Zar is focusing the akhirah. Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. But the people over there in Jahiliyyah, the culture of Jahiliyyah was to focus upon the money. If you have the money, you are in the Senate. It's not if you are a lawyer, if you are educated. No, you just have to have 3 million to get the ticket. Right? That's money. You know what I mean? It's just money. Everywhere is becoming money. It's a culture of Jahiliyyah. The same way as Rasul came to bring people out of Jahiliyyah, the 12th will come to bring out the humanity from Jahiliyyah. So the world is deteriorating. The world is going towards Jahiliyyah culture. And if you do a research, this will be a good research topic, and that is, look at the value system that we have today is very similar to the value system of the time of the Jahiliyyah period. In every little thing we could really point out to. They were burying daughters alive at that time, physically, but today we are burying daughters in a different way, in terms of haya. That's the same culture that we are seeing. So the people gathered and dunya deceived them. As the Quran says that, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The world, the life of this world is nothing but delusion. It's an enjoyment of delusion. People will be pleased with some little thing and it will be over. It's delusional. So people who gathered to kill Imam Hussein, they were delusional. They were attached to the dunya. As I was mentioning about that book, the Jahiliyyah period, Islam did not come to attack the dunya. Islam regards dunya as good. It is a medium, as a vehicle for the hereafter. Islam emphasizes the belief of the hereafter. One can be in this dunya and utilize and have the best of the dunya. Islam is not rejecting that, but rather saying that this dunya is connected to the akhirah. If dunya comes as a hijab, as a hurdle vis-a-vis Allah, vis-a-vis akhirah, then that's problematic. But if it is used for the hereafter and utilized in the best way possible, and it should be, because aynama tuwallu fasamma wajhullah, the way of approaching the dunya should be, or should have that vision, that sort of, relationship with the dunya, that a person is doing ibadat in every little thing that one is performing, whether that belongs to the head or whether that belongs to below belly. Everything becomes ibadat. Everything becomes that energy that one is going towards kamal and perfection. That's why, for example, this is a very traditional reality which we had, for example, in Hinduism as Tantrism. That's an energy. Where it's taking you. It's taking you towards kamal and perfection. That's why you have all of these figures in Hindu temples when you go there. Right? Why? Because that's the energy going towards kamal and perfection. So we have that aspect, but we overlook or we shy away from. It's a taboo. We don't discuss these things. Majority of the divorce that are happening is because of that. I know that. Because we are not focusing on these things and discussing it and teaching to our youth. Is that energy to go towards kamal and perfection, not an hijab, not a lust, not an illusion, but rather a medium and vehicle to go towards kamal. So that my engagement is with the dunya. It's not lust, it's with the dunya. But for what? For a higher reality, for a higher purpose. If you study the traditional, Far Eastern traditions, you will find that in Taoism, in Buddhism, in many other aspects, in terms of that reality, the dunya, so to speak. So the dunya that becomes a hijab, that becomes a hurdle to see the haqiqah, the reality, that is problematic. For these people who gathered, who killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they couldn't see the akhirah. They could only see the inam of Yazid, shimmer on the chest of Hussein. Hussein says, I guarantee you shafaat Rasulullah. What more you want? No. I want the inam of Yazid. I want that reward of Yazid. That's dunya. Then there are many stories, in the Quran. For example, Qarun, he was delusional with the mal that he had. He was attached to that mal, and that was his downfall. He had everything. But the Quran clearly says the downfall happened because he was attached to this dunya. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, from a spiritual point of view, the dunya is not evil, but it is a hijab. And we have to trespass this hijab. We have to tear this hijab. That's why even ilm, knowledge can become hijab. As they say, ilm hijabul akbar. As a hadith, knowledge can become a hijab. A person may have some knowledge, may think of something, oh, I know and you don't know. It's my way or highway. Baba, we don't know nothing. When Rasulullah is saying, oh Allah, increase in my knowledge. Rasulullah doesn't have the knowledge of the divine truth and reality. Our ibadat is nothing. Ma abadnaka haqqa ibadatik. I haven't worshipped you the way I should. No matter how much we worship. Sometimes we think that we have to worship all night. Oh, we need to sleep. We need to wake up on time. We need to take our kids to school. All of these things, they need to calculate each and everything. My body will become tired. The body have the right over me. This has been given by Allah. I need to take care of it. I need to be very practical. And all I'm doing, the reason I'm being practical is in order to I come closer to Allah for the qurb. Right? So, attachment to the world is not just a moral problem, but rather it is a problem of the nafs. The nafs will not go towards kamal. I'm making a choice of my following my desire. And my desire only goes till here. It's not only your desire. Your desire may be a little bit further. Somebody is advising me who have experience, said, don't do this. Because of tajruba, because of the experience, my older brother is saying something to me. But my desire is only here. And I want to follow this. I don't want to go any further. Leave aside what Allah is advising me, what Rasul is advising me. So my nafs gets stagnated in the desire. Because nafs is a there's a terminology in falsafa by Sadra, which he kind of elaborated on this. That's called harakat jawhariya, which is the substantial motion. Our jawhar, our substance, our nafs is doing harakat towards takamul, towards perfection. Everything is going towards kamal. Whatsoever has been created is going towards kamal, towards perfection. Quran also emphasizes it. He says that when the mountain turns into clouds, as it's talking about qiyamah, there's a takamul of the mountain. The mountain turning and becoming flying is a kamal of a mountain. So everything is going towards kamal. And we have to be on guard that we take our nafs towards kamal. That's what Amirul Mu'minin says, that every day of a moment should be different to the day that is past. That means he should learn more, he should excel. It should not be the same. Right? It's a takamul, it's a perfection of the nafs and soul. Right? So if I'm stuck with my desire, I'm not going towards kamal. I'm stagnated with my own nafs. But this nafs have the capacity to reach to the level of an yaqulu kun fayakun, as we spoke about that it could reach and to the level that be and it will happen. That's where the nafs can reach in terms of its kamal. Whatever it say, it will happen. Right? Sayyid Ali Qazi, it says that he was a snake that was dead. Teacher of Allah, he was dead. He says, Bidhnillah, come to life. The snake came back to life. Kun fayakun. That's the nafs, the kamal of the nafs. It can reach to a point. But if I'm stuck with my desire, it will not. That's famous story of a person, magician from India or somewhere, comes to the sixth Imam. Everybody say, oh, he can do this, he can do that. And the other, long story short, I'm making it. And then he says that, oh, mashallah, you are so strong. How did you reach this? He said, everything what my nafs was saying, I was going against that. So that allowed me to become the strong sort of in terms of my nafs, and I can do this, I can fly for whatever, Then Imam said, does your nafs says to accept Islam? He says, no. He got in trouble. So accept Islam. If your nafs is saying your takamul is through that, that's the methodology that you're using, to reach perfection. Say your nafs says to accept. He said no. He said okay, then accept Islam. So he accepted Islam. All those things he was doing, magical, powerful things, is gone, right? Because he was praying his nafs to reach that kamal. Praying his nafs, meaning that, so that to reach that he was stepping on his nafs, right? So he has gathered all of that because only that of his ego. But now once it's all is gone. But later on, apparently, it's been said that he gained back that because of his, purification for the rightful purposes. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, as our nafs is doing, is in harakah, is in motion, so therefore we have to consciously avoid being attached to the dunya. Otherwise, we will be stagnated, right? So these people who gathered against Imam Hussein alayhi salam was the second statement or the couplet here or the verse here is that he sold his share for the lowest and most inferior, those people who gathered. For the most lowest. It's like a commercial exchange. It's a very commercial language. The share, he sold it to the lowest, right? And the Quran also talks about it. It says, Ulaika alladhina ishtaru hayat ad-dunya. They do a transaction of the hayat ad-dunya by, basically purchasing the worldly life in the cost of hereafter. They will leave the hereafter, but they will have just the dunya. I mean, I was speaking to my cousin earlier. Ali Bhai is here. May Allah bless him. There's a research that is done in regards to charity, a very secular research. They say people who give charity, naturally, somehow, some energy, some power or whatever, pays you back. The money comes back to you more than what you have given. There's something. Because these are like, see, what Islam is teaching us, they are metaphysical realities of goodness. Just like how when the sun will rise, the day will come. It's very natural. So charity is a good quality of the nafs. So whether I believe in hereafter, whether I don't believe in the hereafter, if I do that, my nafs will benefit. Whatever Islam is teaching in terms of, like for example, treat others the way you want it to be treated. All of these things are the teachings of akhlaqiyat within Islam. It's good for the nafs. So even that charity, for example, I'm withholding by thinking dunya, not giving what is required, then obviously I have traded this little life to something that is in the hereafter. And we clearly see that time and time and again in the stories of the Quran. Yusuf's brother, they sold Yusuf. They actually did not sold Yusuf. They sold their own nafs. They sold their own ego, right? To the people who were there. Then the next verse, it points out to that he sold his hereafter for the cheapest price. وَشَرَى آخِرَتَهُ بِثَمَنٍ الْأَوْكَسِ. Very little. Very to the cheapest price, the people who killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So this is the anthropocentric nature of the ziyarat, where it is talking about the nature of man, how it is and how it becomes. Sometimes it's like that. We even see that. That's something for very little. A person sells loyalty and whatnot for few coins. We have seen Tipu Sultan or Golconda Fort or all of these people, these soldiers, for something little. The whole empires have fallen just for some money, some for little things, right? The Quran is full of examples. The history is full of examples. So the story of Karbala is alive. It's an eternal story that we have to take lesson from, that we have to join. Inni silmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. These are principles. Imam Hussein is talking about principles. Somebody who is like me will never give bay'ah to somebody who is like Yazid. This is a principle. He's not saying Hussein will not give bay'ah to Yazid. No, somebody who's like me, like Hussein, haq, truth, will not give somebody who is like Yazid. And those who revive these principles time and time again in history, they are the true followers of Hussein. Reviving these principles after 1,000 years today, it's an indication of where lies the haq. Right? So he sold his hereafter for something that was very cheap. There was this scholar, right, Ba'alam Ba'ura in the Quran, who was knowledgeable, who knew Ismi Azam, but he sold his all knowledge. The Ismi Azam, he knew, he sold it to call the curse on Musa alayhi salam. Why? Because he was jealous of Musa. Why? Because more people go towards Musa alayhi salam. Right? His nafs become hijab. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says in Nahjul Balagha, how many intellects are held captive beneath a dominating desire? The aql becomes payamal. The aql light diminishes when it comes to low desire. That's why there are a lot of hadiths which says that if the lust comes, the aql will not be able to see. Right? Aql diminishes. How many intellects are held captive beneath a dominating desire? So the soul is perfected through the journey of the existence, the mode of the existence. We sell the hereafter is to deform our own reality. If we are selling the hereafter, we are making our soul a very strange shape, right? Then the verse says, he became arrogant and fell through following his desire. See, everything is connected. It begins by deceiving of the dunya, just the overall dunya. Then it becomes more precise. Something which was the dunya, it was not just like a big dunya. In the beginning, it's a delusional. Oh, wow, I will get all of this. Thinking that it's a big thing. But eventually it ended up with something very little. And even that little and lower than what one have received in terms of that little is actually that ego. Is actually that nafs. And that's why it says that he became arrogant and fell through following his desires. So if somebody who follows the desire on every step, it adds up. 1 desire, 2 desire, 3 desire, 4 desire, 5 desire. Ana rabbakumul a'la. My desire is it. I want everything. It's me. Where does it begin? From something which is very little. That's why when it comes to ulama akhlaq, for example, Imam Khomeini in 40 hadiths mentions that after food, what do you want to have? You want to have water. He says avoid, don't drink. Train your nafs. Cut your desire. Something that is little. That's how we practice. The whole month of Ramadan is that my desire to have food, my desire to have this. So we are not supposed to, as it's month of Ramadan, for example, right? So the desire, once that, we should stop it. So from these little desires, a person becomes arrogant. The hawa comes in. The ego comes in. Right? And that's shaitan. Abba wastakbara. He became takabbur. Adam and me, I worshipped, and you are asking me to do sajda to Adam? Not possible. I'm better than Adam. Who is Adam? You just created him with a clay. My wujud, my existence is of fire. Fire goes up. If you burn fire, fire goes up. It's in his wujud. That's very symbolic. Fire is light. Clay is what? It's dense. It's dirty. It's heavy. If you toss it in the air, it falls down. Right? It's all of this thing within it. I'm better. But this was actually, external sin, which was refusing the command of Allah, but expecting oneself to be great. That's why we have Ma atakumur Rasul fakhuzuhu. Whatever Rasul gives you, take it. Don't deny the Rasul. Because the ziyarat also goes up by pointing this out, that they displeased, they hurt Rasul. So the displeasure of Rasul, the displeasing of Rasulullah is actually displeasing of Allah. Right? In ziyarat, what do you call, in Hadith Kisa as well, we recite that, the pleasure of Rasul is the pleasure of Allah. The pleasure of Allah is pleasure of Rasul, obviously. Right? So whoever cuts from Rasulullah, disconnects from Rasulullah, have disconnected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. Because Rasul is connected to God. وَمَا رَمَيْتُ إِذْ رَمَيْتُ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. When you give bay'ah on Rasul, it's bay'ah on the hand of Allah. But hand of Rasul is symbolized as that. So here it's pointing out to that, that where the rejecting the command of Allah, rejecting the command of Rasul. Imam Hussein is calling, Imam Hussein is saying, have I done anything wrong against you? But they did not listen to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we know that our soul, if it is repeatedly choosing something, it becomes that. As they say in the Akhirah, I will be raised with those things which I like. I will be raised with that. I like something in this dunya, I will be raised with that in the hereafter. Because I'm stuck with that thing that I'm liking, as in wujud, as in existence. Even in terms of, or in the domain of our ibadat as well. Sometimes we are attached to some type of ibadat and we think that this is it. But there are ibadat much greater than that. When Imam was doing tawaf of Kaaba, and then somebody comes in the middle and says to him something, he leaves the tawaf. And he goes and help a person who was in need. And comes back and continue the tawaf where he stopped. So they say, oh, your tawaf is broken, start from one. He said, I never left the tawaf. Sometimes we are attached to a certain type of ibadat. And we think that, oh, this is it. But sometimes something much more powerful than that is there. Bahauddini was also a contemporary to Imam Khomeini, mentions that when we used to go for ziyarat of, Mashhad, as soon as we reach Mashhad, we'll throw our bags and we'll go for ziyarat. But Imam Khomeini will stay and prepare the food for us so that when we come back, the food is ready for the zawar. Right? That is ibadat too. And perhaps that much greater ibadat than that sort of attachment of running towards that. That's why Imam Khomeini became Imam Khomeini. Right? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The next verse is saying that he incurred your anger, the anger of Allah, and the anger of your Prophet by going against Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So, as we said in the beginning, in terms of the theocentric aspect of it, Waliullah, Habibullah, Khalilullah, the wilayat belongs to the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. Recognizing that wilayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is through Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. That is wilayah, that we accept. And then after accepting that, here we are saying that I should not be somebody who would incur the azab of Allah by cutting myself, by gaining the anger of Rasulullah. How can it be possible that one call oneself as Muslim and fight the grandson of the Prophet? And that's what they did. They fought the grandson of the Prophet and killed the grandson of the Prophet and called themselves as Muslims. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He obeyed the people and those people who were there. وَأَتَى مِنْ إِبَادِكَ وَأَهْلِ الشِّقَاقِ وَالنِّفَاقِ. Right? And the hypocrisy. They were hypocrites by obeying, So the tragedy is not just the sin there that they have committed, but they have obeyed the people who are hypocrites. They have obeyed wrong leaders. They have followed wrong leaders. The company was bad. So it's pointing out to the company. What type of company we should have, what type of friends we should have, who we should be around. right? It's very important to have good friends. It's very important to have good community. And that's what all of the centers are trying to do, that to have the place where we all gather, where we are all together, and we common mind, common discussions, right? So there is a leadership, which is the leadership of nifaq and shiqaq and corruption and evil. And there's a leadership of the imam and wilayah. Because there was a leadership of Umar Asad and Yazid and all that. And as that leadership was there, they utilize those people who are weak in their iman or in their belief, who were deceived by the dunya. And they were weak. And they supported that leadership. And eventually we saw Karbala taking place, right? But they were few with Imam Hussein. They were strong. And they said, even if we are killed 70 times and our bodies are burnt and it is brought back to life again, we will sacrifice our life for you, O Hussein. Because they fully understood the first part of the ziyarat, that who is Hussein? Right? Who is Hussein? And they have become one with Hussein. They have annihilated their wujud, their existence in Hussein. As they did, and Hussein made sure that each and every one who followed Hussein and who follows Hussein, that they reach the perfection and Kamal and their fruit. Because Imam Hussein orchestrated the whole Karbala. He's the Imam, and he made sure that every person who helped Imam Hussein at that time and who helps today, the call of Imam Hussein, that this person reaches his Kamal in terms of his nafs, in terms of that level of tawheed that one should really reach. Because he sincerely loves Imam Hussein alayhi salam. All of them were not scholars or ulama. You know, I mentioned the story of Sayyid Hakim, the great Marja, may Allah bless his soul, increase his daraja, Mohsin Hakim. He goes to the grave of Hur. He says, I'm better than you. Why? Because I'm Sayyid, you're not. Hur was not Sayyid. I say that Mohsin Hakim was Sayyid. I'm better than you because I'm faqih, you are not. He was faqih, he was knowledgeable, he was marja. But Hazrat Hur wasn't. Right? I'm better than you because look at my followers. You know, all students, the entourage, when he's performing the ziyarat of Hazrat Hur in Karbala. So many followers. How many you had? I have more. But I come as a slave to you. Because what you have, I don't have. You have the Rumal Fatima. You have the guarantee. Oh, Hur, your mother have named you right. You are free in this dunya and you are free in the hereafter. You have reached that maqam and level. So it's not the question of knowledge as I is that sincerity. Is that understanding, that ma'rifat qalbi. May your mother cry on you, O Hur. I would have said the same thing if I know who your mother was not. I would have said the same thing. But your mother is Fatima. How can I say such a thing? That's ma'rifat qalbi, that knowledge, understanding of the heart. He reaches to the point, as we say, Hazrat Zainab says, Oh Hur, you have done ihsan on us. That's such a powerful statement. Ihsan, as we mentioned, is Islam, Iman and Ihsan. The one who fully surrenders, Aslama li wajhi, to Allah, in the ayah of the Quran, who fully surrenders, Wahuwa Muhsin. That person is a Muhsin. Hazrat Zainab is pointing out to the level of Hur, that he has reached the level of being a Muhsin. That's the highest level, more than Iman as well. So on this journey of Imam Hussein alayhi salam of Arbaeen, it's not the question of having knowledge as such, being ma'rifat in that way, the Zahiri aspect. No, everybody is there. That's why this caravan, you look at it, who is walking? Everybody is walking. Old people, old people, young, children. The children, you will understand why Hazrat Qasim went and sacrificed. When you look at these children serving in that heat, Baba, who is telling them to do that? There's something inside of there. There's some pleasure that they have by serving the Zawar of Imam Hussain. They haven't reached the age of taklif. They are not 14. They haven't reached that age of taklif. But look at the way they serve. Look at the way they cry. Then we understand, yes, it is possible that Aun and Muhammad at the age of 9 and 10, they went and sacrificed their life for Imam Hussain. So this is a journey towards that tawheed of Allah, Imam Hussein's journey. And Imam Hussain will make sure that we all reach if we ask from him. So that but we have to journey through Karbala. Not just we have to just journey to Karbala. Is that through that, all of those. They reach the level of awliya. Allahi wa ahibba. Oh, they become the awliya, the waliullah. So there is no time limit. Time as such that, yes, there is time limit. I have to finish my speech. I know that. But I'm saying in the sense of the time, whether those ashab were at that time, 1,400 years ago, but we are here now. But there's no time. When it comes to the akhlaqiyat, manaviyat, marifat, understanding, one will reach to that level of the ashab. That's why ya laytana kunna ma'ak. That's why we ask that. Today is the day where, according to certain riwayat, it says the caravan reached Karbala. Hazrat Zainab and the ladies were freed in Sham. And then when they were freed, as we mentioned last night, that Hazrat Zainab, the Aqile Bani Hashim, the intellectual one of Bani Hashim, laid the foundation of these majalises. She said, we want to have a majlis. And this is what we see, the power of this majlis that we have. And then after that majlis, she says that the caravan can go directly to Medina or through Karbala. She said, yes, we're going to go through Karbala. The first Zawar of Imam Hussain, Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari, and we remember him every time when we begin our Jashan or our Majlis by Hadith Kisan, Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari. That shows the sincerity of Jabir. On the day of Arbaeen, we remember him as well, the first Zawar. He came and he was blind. He comes to the grave of Hussain and says, Assalamu alaikum, Abu Abdullah, I can't see, tell me, reply to me. Imam Hussain replied from those cut veins which had no head, because the heads were taken to Sham, right? He says, give salams to Jabir. And he reaches to a grave. Atiyah, the slave, was there. And he reads the writing of Imam Zainul Abidin when he buried Imam Hussain. He says, Hada qabr Hussain, qatal atshana. This is the grave of Hussain who was killed thirsty. And then he hears a sound of a caravan coming. Atiyah, if this is Ahl Bayt, I will free you. Go check. Or are these enemies who are coming? Atiyah runs and says, Ahl Bayt have arrived. Jabir is there. Imam Zainul Abidin is there. They hug each other. And then Imam Zainul Abidin says to Jabir, Jabir, a little bit easy on my neck. Because they say that the chain and the shackles in which Imam Zainul Abidin was, it touched, it burnt, it melted the meat of his body. So he says, Jabir, be careful. It hurts. And finally, Imam Zainul says, Jabir, the ladies want to do the ziyarat of the grave. Can you move a bit further? Because I don't want the sound of the Ahl Bayt to reach you. The cries of the Ahl Bayt to reach you. There were so many at the grave of their loved ones and crying and wailing and lamenting. They say the excitement of them reaching. Obviously when we reach and when we see the shrine of Imam Hussain after that walk, how happy we become. How the tears starts to flow naturally. Imagine this is Zainab who is coming to the grave of Hussain. She throw herself from the back of the camel, crawl to the grave of Hussain. And says here, I'm ending here, Agha Jawadi Amali always mentions this. And she says that, oh Hussain, remember when I came here on the day of Ashura, I said, Ha anta akhi? Are you really brother? Oh my Hussain. Shimmer was on the chest of Hussain. Hussein was in bloodbath. He says, I said, are you really my brother? Oh, Hussein, if you see me now, you will ask me, Anti ukhti, are you really my sister? Oh, Hussein, how many things that I have left behind, how they have treated me. Allah lanatullah ala qawm az-zalimin, sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun ma anta bi Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Brothers, move forward, please. Make your rows, inshallah.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is great. Everyone, Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is louder, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God. I sit in this tent weekend alone. I sit in this tent weekend alone. Brothers fighting for my father's home. Brothers fighting for my father's home. My father fights, I'm too sick to aid him. My father fights, I'm too sick to aid him. I watch so helpless, my heart is torn. I watch so helpless, my heart is torn. Allahu Akbar is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is great. One more time. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar. I walk in pain, my aunt by my side. I walk in pain, my aunt by my side. Brothers all buried, my father died. Brothers all buried, my father died. The son of Hussein, the last one living. I must protect the women still breathing. A burden I am honored to bear. A burden I am honored to bear. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar. My captors taunt me, they cannot break me. My captors taunt me, they cannot break me. My strength is with God, Lord of the worlds. My strength is with God, Lord of the worlds. The son of Hussein, his will within me. The son of Hussein, his will within me. My heart is broken, my faith unfazed. My heart is broken, my faith unfazed. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my I carry wounds that will never leave me. I carry wounds that will never leave me. Each scar a witness to Karbala. Each scar a witness to Karbala. The blood of martyrs became our honor. The blood of martyrs became became our honor. Their sacrifice ties us back to God. Their sacrifice ties us back to God. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God. One more time. Allahu Akbar. Raise your voice. Allahu Akbar. I am Sajjad, my father's successor. I am Sajjad, my father's successor. I saw those plains, I will ever mourn. I saw those plains, I will ever mourn. I bear his message, the truth of Allah. I bear his message, the truth of Allah. Truth and God's justice will all live on. Truth and God's justice will all live on. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar. One more time, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Allahu Akbar, my God is greater. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن